just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to an episode of Bloke in a Bar. Thanks to the absolute legends over at 9. You can go to 9 now and watch actually the most ever free rugby league on 9 now, streaming, and it's all free on 9 now. So head over to 9 now to watch your footy. I love to watch my footy on the weekend there. Also, just quickly, you might see me wearing an absolutely beautiful jersey. These will be live very soon. I think it'll be next Monday at 6 p.m, so set aside the cash. But let's get all of that out of the way because we've got the great Johnathan Thurston. How you going, brother?
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Mate, thank you for coming on. How many podcasts have you done?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, because like when we were coming in, I was like, I can't, because if you had done a podcast, we would have listened to it. I'm trying to think, have you done many of them?
No, not that I can think of.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit when COVID hit with stories of origin and things like that.
Oh, that was mad. That was mad.
But that's pretty much all I can think about.
Yeah, they was. How good were those story of origin? That was so sick. Do them again, please. How funny is it like when we were coming through? Because you debuted 2004. 3? 2002. So I'd have been a few years after you. But obviously 2005 is when I was like training and that. Could you imagine our coaches pulling their hair out with their young players going on podcasts and that? They'd lose their mind, bro.
I'd be cancelling.
Bro, we used to honestly, if there's some drama happened at the Bronx, they used to bring us into a room, bro, and tell us what to say. That's how hectic it used to be.
Yes. Now the boys just say what they want.
Yeah, especially the Broncos. Hey, talking about the coaches and that.
Got a bit of strike,
mate. How you going? Obviously, you retired for quite a while now, but you're doing your 9 stuff now. What's been going on?
Yeah, so I think it's my 5th year out of the game, so pretty settled with life off the field now. The first couple of years was a fair bit going on, a lot of opportunities come up, so I took those with both hands, but with that kept me away from home quite a bit. So, I've got a young family, so just trying to create that work-life balance now, try and put them first. But, yeah, life's good. Channel 9's going great. Got a business which is the Johnathan Thurston Academy, which is a wellbeing, education and employment academy. So that's going really well. Got new staff that have been running pretty hard the last couple of months. So that's going well, and got a small share in an aviation business in far north Queensland. So got things going on.
Got a fair bit on. Got more than me. I thought I was working. Mate, the Johnathan Thurston Academy, walk us through the whole, I guess, woe to go of what it means to you, then to how you hope to impact, and also how people can get involved.
Yeah, so 2010 was a big year for me. That was the first Indigenous All Stars match, and whilst I always knew that I was in Aboriginal, I didn't know too much about our family history and our culture, and we did an exercise with Dr. Chris Sara. He said, if you know much about your family history and culture, stand at this end of the room. If you don't know much, stand at that end of the room. So I was at that end of the room. Yeah, and after that, I rang Mum and said, I want to find out more about, I knew she grew up at Mitchell, which is out past Roma. So she said, that's men's business. I'm like, what's men's business? And she goes, well, your grandfather and uncle's got to take you out there. So Mum's one of 13. I rang my grandfather, took, I think, 4 of my uncles and about a half a dozen of my cousins. We drove a bus out there, did traditional dancing, meeting Pop's family out there, and a few hours into Mitchell. And then, rang Mum, letting her know that we'd arrived safely, and it just had this calming influence on me. And I said to Mum, I feel like I've been here before. I was 27 years of age. Wow. And Mum said, I took you out there when you were a baby. And that just blew my mind. Wow. I was there as a kid, like a baby. Obviously I couldn't remember, but 27 years of age just had this calming influence and this connection to my mother's land out there. So so I started to think, what am I going to do with my post-footy? And that's when I started to become ambassador for different organisations, helping Indigenous youth. And I really liked the success stories of those programs that I was an ambassador for. And I really enjoyed that. So I knew I couldn't be ambassador for those programs for the rest of my life. So, I started the JT Academy. We had conversations with my manager and a couple others in 2016, and then we launched in 2018. And then, so things just sort of come from that. We got some funding, federal funding for the JT Believe program. So that's the education programs we run in Yarrabah, Cowan-Yarma and Thursday Island.
Yep.
So that's been a real success for the academy. Really enjoyed, mingling with the kids and, just inspiring them that, they can achieve their dreams too. It doesn't matter that they're just from Yarrabah or Cowan-Yarma or TI. If they want to be the Prime Minister of Australia, they can be.
Absolutely.
So, just trying to inspire that next generation. We run employment programs as well, and we've just started an early intervention crime prevention program as well, which has been pretty successful. So we've been running that with Queensland Police and Youth Justice. So I've really enjoyed that, and so that's been going really well. We've got a handful of staff that are working really hard for it, and that's where I get my success stories now. When I retired from rugby league, I always lived for the moments.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about the game. When the game was on the line, give me the ball.
Yep.
So that was my fear. Where am I going to find that post footy?
Yeah.
And I just changed my mindset now with the academy, and we got a lot of great success stories, and that's where I find my moments now, other than with my children.
Yeah, it's such an interest. Like as a white Australian, I remember when Dral Yayu. And he said to me, this was years and years ago, he was like, mate, I don't really know my culture. And it blew my mind. I thought we'd moved past that. Do you know what I mean? As in, I thought that like we'd done enough education today where Indigenous people would, but it clearly shows that we're still struggling with that gap that happened.
Yeah, yep. So, again, when I went to school, it was all about the arrival of the First Fleet, all about celebrating Australia Day. Yes, I celebrated NAIDOC Week as well, and I'm a proud Indigenous man from my mum's country. So, but we still got a long way to go. Yes, we have come a long way. I still... Mum tells me stories of, what her childhood was like, and it was pretty rough upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mum's one of 13, so, but in saying that, they sort of shielded us from the things that happened to them. But you hear, a lot of stories, and because of the Indigenous All Stars, one of the big things that I wanted was to get a true representation and a true history lesson on the history of our nation. And we'd done that, and that was a real eye-opener. We had, I think it's Gary Foley that started the Tent Embassy at Parliament House in Canberra. So he come and spoke about how that all happened, the stolen generation, Pomawau, who's a famous, fought the white people here, in the 1700s when they were taking out the land out towards Parramatta. So, getting a true understanding and a history of our nation, the battles that our ancestors and our elders fought. My generation were afforded the freedoms that they were not. So I'm in a position to, I suppose, help create a little bit of social change with our people. And, my Indigenous culture lies at the core of who I am as a person. So I'm very passionate about that and giving back to the community. So, through rugby league, that's been able to happen. And, but rugby league doesn't define me.
Yeah, it's it always shocks me when a lot of people don't even realise that the Indigenous culture is the oldest culture, continuous culture in the world, and you have to think like even though we've made so much progress and everything else, there's still a lot to learn from something that, like when you think about it, the pyramids were around 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. That's like a fraction of 65, 70,000. You know what I mean? That's a fraction. And yet we revere that. Why don't we revere, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So again, we've had some great trailblazers before us, fight for Indigenous rights, and we're still fighting for those rights. I don't get into the political side of things, and, I believe that, through rugby league, I've been able to, create a bit of that social change and inspire the next generation of our kids. Like I said, just because they're from Cow and Yarma doesn't mean that, they can run in the Olympics or play in the NRL or be a doctor or lawyer, mechanic, whatever they choose to be in their life. With the right support network around them, hopefully they can achieve their dreams too.
Now take us back to actually before we get to young fella, what are your thoughts on the game today? Because a player like yourself, and obviously I only played a small amount of games to you, but I just think you would kill it in today's, fast pace on the front foot footy. What do you think about today's game?
Yeah, I really enjoy watching it. I would love to have played in it.
Yep.
Obviously, the ball's in play a lot more. The 6 again rule has brought a lot more fatigue in the game, which brings the smaller person into the game as well. So, yeah, no doubt I would have really enjoyed today's game. Again, player safety's at the forefront of the game now as well. So it's certainly changed since I retired.
Imagine you're digging into the line these days. You would have been loving it. You'd be like, I can't even get hit.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
No, but that was what I got paid for. And, if I had to take a hit to create a bit of space for my outside men, that's what I'd do for the team. So, but really enjoy watching the game now. They're, extremely fit. I prided myself on my fitness, trying to be, the fittest at the club and one of the fittest in the game. So, playing in today's game, I think that would have really suited my style.
Oh, mate, absolutely. It's I think it's in a good space. I think obviously the game always has things we can improve on, but I just love the fact that we get to see, because I do think there was a period when the wrestle was at its peak that the little fellas just kind of couldn't find their gaps anywhere because it was so slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's exciting as anything. Anyway, take us back to a young fella, born in Brizzy.
Brizzy, yeah.
Mate, what happened there? What's going on? Wayno, speak to me. What's doing?
Yeah, so there's a few of us that come through there.
I know, Smithy as well.
Smithy, Cooper, Billy moved down there as well, Dallas.
Stop,
Johnson. So,
sir.
The list goes on. But, grew up in Brizzy. Mum, as I said, grew up in Mitchell with most of her family and then moved to Brizzy. Born in 83, raised there, playing rugby league. Dad played footy. Most of my uncles played footy. And then, year 11 and 12, then I made the switch from Brizzy and got an opportunity to move to Toowoomba to do year 11 and 12 at St Mary's College. But, still got some great mates. Grew up playing at South Sunnybank. Grew up at Sunnybank, School of Hard Knocks. Got to be tough to grow up there.
South Brisbane, bro. South Brizzy.
So, I had a great upbringing. Mum and dad, worked pretty hard to give my brothers and my sister as much as they could, and they made a lot of sacrifices, for me personally and my siblings to achieve what they wanted to achieve. So got a great support network around me with the family as well. So if it wasn't for them, no doubt I wouldn't be where I am today. But grew up in Brizzy and had that opportunity, and that was probably a turning point in my life. I was hanging around. I'm still mates with those boys today. But I was going down a path that it wasn't great, and through having a good support network around me and good family support, I was able to break that cycle. And I always wanted to play rugby league, and I got that opportunity.
Do you think if, let's say, rugby league just didn't exist and you didn't play sport, do you think you're almost an impossible chance to break the cycle? Did it really give you a focus each week?
I remember in grade 10, one of my mates, when grade 10 finished, he did a butcher's apprenticeship. So he left straight away after grade 10, and I asked Mum if I could do an electrical apprenticeship. But she shot that down pretty quickly and said, no, you will be completing grade 12. My uncle got me that opportunity. But, rugby league was always a big part of my life as a kid. Grew up supporting the Canberra Raiders, and then, through the 90s, wasn't mad. Darren Lockyer.
The great D-Lock.
Yeah.
Hey, the great D-Lock.
So I remember when he tackled me for the first time, I was like, I got tackled by Lockyer. But so Brizzy's home, always will be. And yeah, really enjoyed it.
And so was it always from a young age that you know, because when you come up through the grades, there's a few boys that is just like, these are the boys, and that they stay there. Then there's a few boys that bloom late. Then there's a few boys that, you know, they're never going to make it or whatever. Where did you kind of sit in that bracket?
So the belief in myself never wavered. And I was, you know, always the smallest.
Yep.
But you know, I just loved rugby league that much. So, yeah, I made some junior rep teams. And then through my teenage years at 13, 14, 15, that's when I sort of just fall by the wayside and not make those representative teams. And then, moved to Toowoomba. And then that's when it all started to, I suppose, move in a new direction for me. So, I was sort of in thereabouts, but not really.
Yeah, okay. So St Mary's is a rugby league school?
Yeah, yep.
So did that give you a bit of, like, I guess, bit better training, a bit better playing with better players, or?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I think it was because it was an all boys school too, so there was no distractions. So that helped.
That helps.
Well. But it was a real brotherhood there as well. So you know, everyone looked after each other. And I lived with the family. Their eldest son was playing local A grade, so I'd go to footies training with him, and the younger son was a year below me, and we'd go to school together. So I did that for a year, and I think I might have played 19s that year as a 16-year-old, and then I think 17 started playing local A grade in grade 12. So my footy just sort of took off, and started making those representative teams again. And then school finished because I put all my eggs in the one basket with rugby league, and like most kids that want to do it. And I had no clubs to go to when school finished, and I was like, shit, now I got to find a job. Like, I don't want to go back to Brisbane. And one of the boys I was playing footy with, he was the head butcher at Coles, so I asked if there was any work going around. So I was a butcher's assistant.
Well, you butchered New South Wales for a few years, so you still are one, eh?
So, I did that for about 6 months, and then I think I played Queensland 19s as an 18-year-old and played pretty well. And then I think Nathan Brown rang me the night after to go to Wollongong.
Yep.
But Mum said if I'm moving to Sydney, I had to live near my manager who lived
smart.
At Strathfield.
That's really smart.
In Sydney. So Mum shot that down with Nathan Brown, and then I got a training trial with the Bulldogs.
Wow. So you're 18 years old,
18,
no club.
No club, so
far out.
Like a few of us.
That's mind blowing, to be honest. Because as you'd know, like the guns, they're in first grade squads at 18 years old.
Yeah.
And you get that anxiety of because your mates are getting picked up and they've got the gear and they're in the squads, and you're sitting there watching them going, what's happening? Yeah.
So through those teenage years, I think it like really put a chip on my shoulder because if you're half decent in Brizzy, you had a scholarship with the Broncos. And there was, I don't think Smithy had one either. So, but coming to footy games, you'd see the boys.
You know what the problem was? I had one, and I didn't even play rugby league. That's where we went wrong.
When I used to come up against them, I'd play with a chip on my shoulder, and I want to perform really well against them because they'd rock up in their Broncos tracksuits. Yeah.
That was a Nike too back in the day. Mad Nikes, bruh. They were the best. Okay, so do you think that was the reason that was always said to you, size-wise, defence-wise, what was the reason that you got relayed to you as to why you didn't have a club?
Just as a small kid, like I said, I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing as well. So a little bit rough around the edges. And a bit of trouble through those teenage years, but also, just size was too small. Tackling was never my strong point, but I worked as hard as I could at it. And, so they were pretty much the report cards you get back from scouts.
And so you move down, you're a Brizzy boy, you get the training trial from the Bulldogs. When you get down there, is it a massive shock?
Yeah, proper.
Yeah.
Like
so different.
Holy. Yeah. And I was at the Bulldogs house as well, so in the heart of Belmore. Ricky Stewart was the Jersey flag coach back then, and so I was washing cars at Pickles Auctions. Pickles Auctions. Man, it was so cold going down there. But my dream and my motivation was rugby league, and if I had to wash 1,000 cars to play rugby league, that was my mindset. And did that. Ricky Stewart, I think about 6 weeks in, I was just training, no footy, and started getting homesick. Sticky seen me crying in the sheds there at Belmore. Had a good conversation with him. He said, if you go home, if I send you home this weekend, promise me you'll come back. And said, yeah, I'll promise. I had no intentions of coming back to Sydney, but luckily for Mum and Dad, they put me on the plane. So I went back home for the weekend. It did me the world of good, seeing family. And then, Ricky Stewart said, I'm going to play off the bench in Jersey flag this week. We'll fly your Mum and Dad down for that. And it was a big occasion. And then, the footy just sort of took off. Started in the halves. About 3 games in, I think, halfback went into reserve grade, and then I started in the halves. And then those days you'd sit on the bench for reserve grade. So, I think my first reserve grade game, sat on the bench. Kevin Moore was the coach, and we're playing Parramatta at the showgrounds. And Stephen Hughes goes down with the Hemi, and they say, you're going to play in the centres. I'm like, the centres? What? And then I get out there and I look across me and it's Willie Tonga.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But we end up winning, actually. So, Matty Utai was my winger. So you just had to
How good.
find him with a little bit of space, and he did the rest. So, it sort of took off pretty quickly from there.
It's such a... I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I feel like if you didn't have a former NRL player coach, he may have been too harsh on you and said, like, you're not going home and whatever. But I think, like, Ricky Stewart, for him to understand, look, I need to just give this kid a bit of empathy. And show him and trust, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I was a Canberra Raiders fan, so when I heard that Sticky was the Jersey flag coach, I was like, oh, how good. So, I got a great relationship with Sticky, and like I said, he showed that empathy, and he's got a good read on his players and how they're feeling. So, and, he gave me my first test jersey as well in 2006. Got a really good relationship with him, and very glad that he showed let me go home for that, and I got a lot to owe to Sticky.
That's crazy. Do you reckon he watched Origin in 2008 and was like, oh fuck, or 2010, maybe I should have been a bit harsh on the kid?
He loves his footy. He's a good man.
I think that's often overlooked with Stick. Like, we see the press conference, and I love it, but there's a reason why the players that play with him, go in a bat for him. They love him.
Yeah.
Has that good relationship,
Yeah. No, he's always had that. And he's got a great understanding of these players and the care that he shows for his players. So he's hard, but if you're doing the right things and you're putting the team first, he'll do whatever he can to help you be the best that you can. And he always said that better people make better footy players. So he's really big on that.
Mate, I think what he's done at Canberra is outstanding. Okay, so you get up in reserve grade and you play centres. Did you then move into the halves later that year, or did it take the next year?
Yeah, so so I was still on a training trial, and then 2002, I think I got the full-time contract.
Oh, what was that like? Do you remember that day? Yeah. Mate, the first full-time contract, you just like, stop it.
Finally. So, but yeah, I had to work hard for it. And yeah, I think Jersey Flag, we won the grand final that year, and then 2002 we won the reserve grade grand final as well, and yeah, it made me debut in I think round 5 or round 6 against Penrith of 2002 playing.
Wow.
Yeah,
so that's about what, a year and a half?
Yeah, just over, would have been about 12 months from getting to getting to Sydney with the Dogs.
Wow.
Going from a training trial to making
your debut. That's incredible. Do you remember how it all actually? Do you remember rocking up to the first grade training? And is there any session or just what was the Because like usually as a rookie when you rock up, you're blown. You're like, this is too much. Like, this is hectic. This is hectic.
Well, even like flag and reserve grade, you wouldn't talk to the first grade boys.
Yeah, no way.
You're just like, stay away from them. So, but and that side was stacked. We had international state of origin players. We had, people with great work ethic. So, yeah, I feel like I walked into a really good system. And, yeah, no doubt they had a big part of my development. And, yeah, I'm a loyal person and, I would have loved to have stayed there, but, things pan out for a reason. But, yeah, I'm forever grateful for the opportunity that the Dogs took on me. And, I ended up, coming off the bench in 2004 for the grand final in the NRL.
Big baggy jersey. What was that, like 3XL? What's going on there? You surely get the man a medium.
It was extra medium. But, so it was a quick rise to it all. But, like when walked in there, they were all welcoming too, all those boys, like Steve Reardon, tough as nails, Willie Mason, Steve Price, he had a big influence on me as well. Braith was playing for Australia at the time. I think Sherwin was the first player to sign a 5-year deal.
Mega deal.
Yeah, Tony Grimaldi,
Luke Patton, was he playing?
Yeah, General was there. Yep. So Hazem El Masri, Nige Vangana.
Oh, Vangana.
Yeah, so she was
Vangana was underrated, bro.
Yeah,
I rated him.
She was stacked. But, the people behind the scenes as well, Gary Carden and the likes, that helped with my development off the field as well. So, yeah, it's a great club.
And your debut, do you remember how it came about? Do you remember the conversation at all? Or
I can't now, but Folksy was the coach back then, and I remember the game pretty clearly.
Yep.
So we ended up. Yeah, it was against Penrith out at Penrith, and I just remember. Because you warm up on the backfield.
Yeah, the backfield.
Backfield. So, but we had Mark O'Mealy. Actually, Ogre was the front rower as well. So, but yeah, you just like, is this happening? Like, I'm playing alongside these blokes that are just, the best of their position, and you sort of, it's a pinch me moment.
Yeah.
And it was a dream come true.
And so, fast forward, obviously, because essentially during that era, if I recall correctly, it was you and the Roosters that were like pretty much the favourites to win the comp.
Yeah.
And you had some pretty historic battles in that period.
Yeah.
Was it the grand final that you beat them, Roosters? Who did
so that was in 2004.
Because didn't they, the year before or something, they beat you in a prelim? Or I could be wrong. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Prelim, and I think 2002 was the salary cap, so we didn't play in the finals. That was the year that the Roosters won.
So 2004, leading into the grand final, because you had only played 9 games at this stage, so you're still kind of a bit on the fringe of first grade, really.
Yeah, yep. So, and I'd also made the decision to go to North Queensland. So in round 2 or 3, I think I broke my leg, so I was out for 3 months. And then made the decision to go to the Cowboys, And when I'd come back from my broken leg, I was just playing reserve grade, and I only played a couple more games of NRL, and then I think the first week the Cowboys played the Bulldogs in the semis, and the Dogs got towed up by the Cowboys. Then the second week, Folksy picks me off the bench.
Yeah.
I score a try, set up a couple, and I'm
stop it. Let's go.
Like, there's no way he can drop me after this. And then he calls me in and says I'm going for a bigger bench. I'm like, and Pricey hurt his knee, but I remember we went and watched the Roosters play the Cowboys, and I was no chance of playing, and so I had a big night with a couple of the boys. The next day, Benny Harris was a part of it too, so I think he didn't. He missed the first 3 training sessions because of alcohol poisoning.
Holy shit!
So I know, and then I think Folksy called me in. I think it was on the Monday morning, and I was shitting bricks. I was like, I didn't do anything wrong last night. Like, we're just back at General's place. We had a few drinks. Like, what's he calling me in for? And like heavily hungover. And he's like, oh, what are your parents doing this week? And just watching the game. He goes, well, I'm going to pick you off the bench. And then my mind's just gone, I've been on the piss all night. It's not a great start to my preparation for the biggest game of my life. So unfortunately for Pricey, he got injured against Penrith in the prelim, and if he didn't get injured, there's no way I would have played. And we ended up winning, and I just remember, the grand final rings are numbered 1 to 17. I wore jersey number 18. And so they gave me the number 10 ring, and as soon as I opened it and seen it, I grabbed Pricey and I said, hey, there's no one more deserving than you that deserves this premiership ring, because he had a big influence on me in my time in Sydney. So that was my time at the Dogs, so I really enjoyed it.
Wow, far out. Do you remember anything from the game, like any little moment? Or was it all blur?
Yeah, it's. I think I tried to do a show and go, and Adrian Morley got a hold of me. And then I think I was on a short side. I did a fifth tackle kick down got just inside the corner post for a scrum. So, but the celebrations after that. I remember we got to Belmore, and the boys would hold the trophy up. And I remember when Sonny picked the trophy up and went to the front of the bus, because we were in a double-decker bus, open roof, this place just, it was like the bus shook when he lifted that trophy. So, there's probably the things that stick out the most.
What's it like as a young fella? Because Freddie obviously would have been across from you.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there like this. He's at the peak of his career, the zenith,
Yeah, I know. So that was his final ever game too. So
mate.
Retired. Yeah, so I should be bringing this up.
But I mean, what an incredible experience to be able to share a grand final with Freddie Fittler.
Freddie, exactly. I think he's over 30 games for the Blues.
Yep. And that was the year where he won the series for the Blues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, he won premierships. Yeah. So, you remember all those little things as well. And like I said, you reflect on those. But, sharing the field with those types of people, you don't forget.
Okay, so the decision to go to the Cowboys, so the Cowboys had made the prelim that year. So they had a relatively good squad, but it was the first time I think they'd made the prelim?
Yeah, so it was the first time they'd made the finals.
Yeah, finals. Is that what excited you?
So I made the decision halfway through 2004, but the decision really come down to playing alongside Matty Bowen.
Oh, mate. Don't worry, I was going to talk about that.
QAS camps that Wayne Bennett set up. So I'd done a couple of those, and a few of those boys were in that. Matty Bowen, Ty Williams, Josh Hannay, Matty Singh. So sort of had a bit of a relationship with those boys. So, yeah, that decision made it easier for me to go north and to be back into Townsville, back into Queensland as well. So, but, yeah, it was... I remember watching Main go and just going,
mate,
geez, it'd be nice to play alongside him. And, formed a really good combination.
Really good. It's an understatement. I was always, I don't know why I was confident, but I was always really confident in my ability, even though I'd only just started playing rugby league. And so I was always like, in my mind, you'll play, you just got to work hard, you'll play first grade. The first time I ever got intimidated as to whether I could play first aid or not play first aid, I was up North Queensland playing for the Clydesdales, and I saw Matty Bowen at the back. And at that time, I think I was playing fullback, and I was like, I can't play. Like, if that's the level of fullback, what am I doing? I may as well pack her up. Yeah. Mate, I'd never seen someone glide across the field as quick.
He can just turn on a 10-cent piece. He could get from here to there in a matter of 2 or 3 steps.
Unbelievable.
You just had to create a little bit of space for him, and he would do the rest. So, got some really good memories playing alongside him.
So good. I actually never told anyone this, but there's 2 players that have sprayed the hell out of me on a footy field. One's the great Wendell Saylor. Loved it. Another one, and this was in reserve grade, Rocket Rod Jensen. Did he love to just chirp or what? Am I misremembering? He would spray that. I was like, what the hell? It's in Rezzies too.
So Rocket, he would. He was good on the chat as well. So it didn't matter what level he was playing. He'd throw it.
Oh mate, I was rattled because I was like 17, 18 going, what's doing this? He was a gun. He was so quick. And the only other player that chats a lot on the field is Brother Hodgie, Uncle Hodjo. Uncle Hodjo does not stop. And I feel like that. When I say Hodjo, I was like, Hodjo, just so you know, I can't throw them, bro. So, like, you're on your own. I'll hold some jerseys or something, but I'm not throwing them. Okay, so you arrive, in North Queensland, 2005, and, like, what an incredible year. Like, was there a feeling around the joint when you got there, or
yeah, like they had a pretty good team already. So they made the prelim final, and then I think round 2, so they recruited me as a 6, and then round 2 or 3, I think our halfback Shepherd broke his ankle, so I got moved to 7, and with that. Muzz pretty much gave me the keys to the team, Aaron Payne, and I really enjoyed that responsibility of number 7, leading the boys around the park and calling the shots. And, so that was a breakout year for me. Made my debut that year for Queensland, and, we ended up making the grand final. Losing to the Tigers, but personally and as a club, that was a really successful year for us. I really enjoyed it.
What was the headspace heading into the grand final for that season? I know you obviously made your Origin debut, but it's one thing being in a grand final as like a centre or a winger or someone coming off the bench. It's another one being you're the guy. You got to get it done, kind of thing. Was that different pressure?
Yeah, yep. And again, I was lucky to play with Lockie in Origin, and the one thing he said to me was the preparation will be the key to his success. So that always stuck with me, making sure that I prepared real well. I did my video work. I knew how to execute the game plan, and when you play the game, that's meant to be the easy part of the week. So, it is a whole different type of pressure. Playing in the grand final. Sometimes you can try and overplay your hand in big games, but you still just need to remain calm and make sure that you're sticking to what you do best. It was was such a great experience for me, even though that we lost. Still hurts. You never get over losing an NRL grand final. But, that was the Cowboys' first ever grand final appearance. So, really enjoyed that experience.
It's you may have not thought about it like this, but it's like so interesting from a fan's perspective myself where, Benji had his moment in that grand final.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, you got to have your moment in your grand final. Like it's pretty poetic.
Yeah. So I still remember him running past me. Just make the tackle, mate. And he just put a goosey on me straight past me. Yep. Called touch, but he didn't come back. Block passes, but So and that was my 2004 1-1, 2005 playing in another one. Once everything sort of calmed down, you're thinking, I'm going to play in a lot more grand finals. We've got a great side. If everyone can stay fit, we've got great coaching staff. And then, it just took us another 10 years to get there. So it was tough, but it's all worth it in the end.
Do you remember anything specifically from that grand final that stands out, like a little moment or, an effort from a player or?
I remember, so there's a big moment. So I remember when Ty Williams scored in the corner and Manda was about to rule it a try, and I forget who was the touchy, but they sent it back upstairs and they ruled it a no try from an obstruction. And so for the next 10 minutes, I reckon I was just into the touchy and just lost focus of the game. Was just, that sort of took me out of the game a bit and rattled me. So that's probably, what I remember most about it, other than Benji flick passing it. But the whole scenes, even though, I remember the bus ride to the airport in Townsville, we went all through Townsville, and there wasn't a front yard that didn't have people in it. They just love their footy in the north and got great support. So you remember those moments, and then even though that we lost when we got back to the airport, the airport, you couldn't move in the airport,
Something
So
good.
So yes, it was a success in a way, but it was also a failure.
Did you, because you're so competitive as a player, that's almost not your secret weapon, it's your strongest weapon. But at the same time, you'd know much more than me, but you got to balance that sometimes. And do you think that it took you a few years to realise when situations like that happen, just to let it go?
Yeah. So it's and you're always going to make errors. And when you make an error, some people dwell on it, and it takes them a while to get back into the game. And so I was pretty lucky where learning from that experience, that when things happen, I can just let it go and get a really good involvement, whether it's touching the ball or making a tackle or whatever it is. Because you don't want it to take you out of the game. So errors are a part of the game. You're going to miss a tackle that'll lead to a try. You're going to, drop the ball. These things will happen. But it's how you react from it. So I learnt that pretty quickly.
Yeah, you see a lot of the hyper competitive players sometimes, especially when they're younger. For example, I'm extremely competitive, and if I made an error, I'd be like Devo for I remember when I went to Ivan at the Warriors, my kicking was I was converting, and I was at 70% or whatever, and I was so rattled that I wasn't higher. I went to him and I was like, oh, maybe you should get someone else to kick because I'm not doing that well. That's how bad I was, bro. It used to rattle me. So I just find it interesting with yourself. You're super competitive. How did you balance that? But what a great lesson to learn. Take us quickly just back to Origin debut. How'd you? And also, what's so incredible about this? This is the start. This is the start of the dynasty.
Yeah. So 2005, we had a good start to the year with the Cowboys, and I remember getting the phone call. I had a heap of my mates in Townsville that watched the Cowboys play, so they were all staying at my place, and we got the phone call. I'm like, I'm playing Origin, and it all just erupted in the house. And then, we go out and have a big night, and get to the airport in the morning. All the boys are fresh, and I'm hungover. And Billy Johnson just gives me a spray straight away, and I'm like, oh, it's not a good start. But get into camp. Michael Hagan was our coach then in 2005, and I remember a training session. So I think it might have been our second training run, because I was just like a massive fan of Lockie. So I just idolised him. And here I was, playing alongside him, and I was pretty much a passenger, and he pulled me aside and said, for me to do my job, I need you to do your job. So you and Smithy get the boys around the park, and when I want it, it's your job to get me the ball. And I was just like, oh, yes, sir. So, that was a big moment for that week. And then, the game rolls around, and I think we might have been 18-0 up at half time. And I remember walking off the ground at Suncorp going, Origin's not what it's all cracked up to be, like thinking that. And then we come out, and I think it's like 25 minutes in, or might have been half an hour into the second half. We're behind 19-18, and I've never, ever in my life thought that again about Origin. So I learnt a lesson extremely quickly. But, that was, a big clutch moment for myself as well. I kicked the field goal to send it into extra time, and Matty Bowen takes the intercept.
Bro, I was sitting because we played in the Queensland game before you guys.
Yep, yeah.
And I was just sitting there watching, and it was like right there.
Yeah, I know. He just pounced on it and, put it on the sticks. And I just remember running down towards him, and these people jumped over, like all on top of him. And, so we won that game. And then they brought a bloke back named Andrew Johns for game 2 and 3. And I don't think I've ever learnt as much about a rugby league game from an opposition player than I did in those 2 games playing against Joey. His pass selection, his kick selection, his running game, and he just come back and schooled us.
Mate, unbelievable.
And so that was quite heartbreaking, but learnt so much from those 2 games by playing against him.
It's two things quickly. When Matty Bowen took that intercept, why was he defending in the centres? Was he because he didn't come on at centre?
I think he was on the wing.
Yeah,
I was.
You were centre.
2-man in.
Okay.
And, I think Matty Singh might have been at 3-man. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's just like it's such a Matty Bowen thing to do. Like you come off the bench in Origin, and you're on the sting, and you're like incredible.
I know, so they're the things that he does.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, so.
And also it's really so interesting. Like Joey, one of the greatest ever, the greatest ever New South Wales 7. Like if he didn't come on and put on that absolute clinic. Do we go and have the dynasty? I say we like I was playing. Does Queensland? does Queensland go on that? You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah, exactly. 2006. We win we lose the first game by a field goal. I think we put 30 on them at Suncorp, and then we go to Melbourne, and I think we're 2 tries down with about 12 minutes to go or 14 minutes to go, and it was a controversial try, the third one, and I remember walking back and Lockie was beside me and I was going off my head going, oh, they don't want us to win. This is a thing, just going off my head. And then Lockie goes, there's still 15 minutes to go. We can win this. Yeah. And then he got us in a huddle behind the try line and said the exact same thing. And, yeah, we end up coming back and winning that game. And obviously Lockie picks the ball up and scores under the sticks. And that starts it. But, yeah, you got to wonder if Freddie or Joey are in that New South Wales side in 2006. Whether it's a different story. But, we were staring down the barrel of becoming the first ever team to lose 4 consecutive series in a row, which had never been done in State of Origin history. So, there was a lot of pressure on the side. And so,
2006, you all come together and just like, Cam Smith, yourself, Lockie, and then you've got, Webby had retired by then, but you've got Petra up front, Matty Scott, the list goes on, and you've got G.I. in the centre. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But, like, there's plenty of teams that have had gun on paper, but keeping that together and keeping egos to the door, like, how did you manage, because when you go back to the club, you're the man. When Lockie goes back, he's the man. When Smithy goes, you know what I mean? How did you guys manage to keep that just all directed towards the same?
That's very big what Mal brought to the team. He was big on leaving your club hats at the door. You're now playing for your state. And, while leaving your hat there, you're leaving your ego there and putting the team first. So, Mal's big on that. And there was no egos on that side. Like we had, Lockie, Petro, Pricey, Billy, Smithy. Like the list goes on. So, it was a stacked team. But, everything was about putting the team first. So, Mal was big on that. And then, it started with the leaders as well, those boys that I'd mentioned.
And so the next few years, what's the most memorable? Because like if we went through every single year, it'd be a bloody 4 hours. I think you got a game to go or something like that. But like, what series stands out for you? For me personally, as a fan, it's like obviously when you did your shoulder and you're hanging by a thread and you kick that conversion, all that kind of stuff. But what for you personally?
2010, the whitewash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably the 2006. That. The amount of pressure, knowing what the conversations that Mal had with Lockie and Petra and Pricey, I think it was, before the game, the night before, might have been 2 nights before. So, basically said if we lose this, your Origin careers are over and so is mine as a coach.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah, being the first team to lose 4 series in a row, it's huge. But, 2006 and then 2009, we'd won the series 2-0. That was the first time we'd won 2-0, but didn't go on with the whitewash. And then, 2010, 2-0 and, got the third game. So, I remember at the start of that, Lockie saying, if you have a look at the history of what people remember, they remember whitewashes. And, so they're probably the 2 series that I'm a fan of.
Wow, 2010. It's just so many years, bro. You know what I mean? Like you just won so many. So what's it like, as a half, or especially a half and also a 6, I don't think people appreciate the relationship between your 9 and your 7 and how important it is you get good service. What's it like playing with a guy like Smithy? Obviously the GOAT, number 9.
Yeah. It's there's guys that you have in your team that you just feel like you're never going to lose. He was one, Smithy, Lockie, and I played my test debut with Joey. So they're the 3 that when they're in your side, no matter what the scoreboard says, you never feel like you're going to lose. So playing with Smithy all those years, you get a really good understanding of each other's games and what you're doing, and the service is the best out there, but just his demeanour on the field as well. You know, I was the type that wore my heart on my sleeve, and you know, you could tell if we were 10 points up, or you'd tell if we were 10 points behind. It was because you know, I'm erratic and wearing my heart on my where, you know, Smithy and Lockie, you could be 40 up and they just still got the straight face. And you could be, you know, 10 behind and they still got the straight face. So, you know, playing alongside those blokes, makes your job very easy. And, you know, I was blessed to have some great blokes play outside me too, like Billy, GI and Hodjo, mainly the centres, and Bill at fullback. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, so she was a fair left edge with GI and Darius Boyd and
not bad.
Ash Harrison. So those the 9, 7, 6 and 1, we played a lot of footy together.
Yep. Now you debuted. What year did you debut for Australia? Did you say
2006?
2006.
Yep.
And so I mean, I didn't know this, and I can't believe I didn't know this, but everyone else knew this. Obviously, your father was born in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Now, you had the opportunity, or did they try to reach out to you to play for New Zealand? Or
yeah, so Chook, Darryl Halligan, had the conversation after the 2004 grand final, asking if I wanted to play for the Kiwis and the Tri-Nations, I think it was back then. So I rang Dad and had a conversation with Dad and Mum. And Dad, it was a pretty quick no from Dad. Dad had been, you know, in Australia since the mid-70s.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, he hadn't been home back to New Zealand. So he said, yeah, you know, feel like he can play State of Origin and for Australia. So I end up turning, the Kiwis down and... a couple of years later, I'm playing for Australia.
Mate, seeing you in a black and white jersey hurts my heart, bro. It fucking hurts my heart. Eh? So stoked that you didn't do that. KK, so fast forward, I'd assume that like your debut for Australia, like I'd assume it's a different feeling to Queensland, but it's as important.
Yeah. So I come off the bench. I had jersey number 14. So Carmichael Hunt was fullback.
Okay.
Lockie was 6. Yeah. Joey was 7. And Bedsy was 9. I think Mason, Ben Kennedy were the back rowers. So, I know.
It's crazy.
It was, And, I remember getting into camp and just thinking... like, you know, is this real?
Yep.
And Joey, Bedsy and Lockie were really good that week for me. So they would, after training, would put me in different scenarios on the field. You know, what are you thinking here when you got a player here and you got this many on the short side and, you know, you got the front rower there and the, you know, second row's caught here and things like that. And so my mind's just going, I'm trying to picture it all like this. But, you know, my footy IQ that week just went through the roof from those 3 boys, putting me in different scenarios after each training session. So, I was very lucky and blessed. That was my first Kangaroos jersey coming off the bench. And, I'll never forget that week because those 3 boys played a massive role in it.
Wow. What do you think because Joey and Lockie, they're such different characters, just different, like, you know, my experience with Lockie, he's a bit more quiet, a bit more leads by example and kind of, obviously I'm a winger, so he's not really talking to me about imagine these scenarios. But obviously Joey is different.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, like the difference in the way they try to get their message across to you?
Oh, they're both, you know, the greatest. Like, you know, their footy nous and what they know about the game is second to none. You know, there isn't too many better than those 2. But, you know, I love listening to them both on Channel 9 when they break, you know, individual plays down and things like that because they give the insight to the viewer, you know, so great and what made them so good. But, you know, they're both the same in that way. But as you said, they're 2 different characters away from the field. But, on it, they got a lot of similarities.
Yep. Okay, now, I'd know, you know, the Indigenous All Stars the way that all came together. I guess, when that is all coming together, and then when you finally get that Indigenous All Stars game together and you see the impact it has, does it almost overwhelm you, the impact that you do have on the community?
Yeah, I wouldn't say overwhelm. It's a position that don't take lightly. Like I said, having a deep understanding of the history of our nation, what our culture has been through, and where our culture is going. We've got an opportunity there to inspire the next generation to be whatever they want to be. And, the opportunities that are there and available for them now weren't around when I was at school. They weren't around with my mother, grandparents and the like. So, that game, you're representing our culture, and you can see, a lot of the kids now, they're not walking around with their Cowboys or Broncos or whatever. They're walking around in their Indigenous jerseys, kicking the footy around. So, rugby league's been a big part of our culture, and it means it's more than just a game for our culture, and the way that they've got it now with the Māori team as well is a perfect fit for both cultures coming together. And very grateful for that opportunity to happen, because if it didn't, I don't know whether I would have went searching for the history of our nation, but also the history of and my family history as well. So forever indebted to that game.
Mate, I think the setup we've got now is perfect.
Yeah,
Māori, Indigenous, it's so good. It's seriously one of my favourite games of the year, just because that this is more than rugby league. This isn't just about I get a big contract from a club and whatever. This is genuinely.
Yeah,
you'd pay to play in it.
Yeah. Well, the boys are playing it for free.
Yeah, 100%. Don't say that loud though. The boys want their fucking pay. Jeez. Okay, so Dally M 4 times.
Yep.
4 times. Does that still feel weird? You know what I mean? 4 times.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, I remember my first one against Joey. So Joey only played 14 games, I think, that year.
Yeah.
I played every game, and I think I beat him by 1 point. He played 14 games, and I played another 11 or 12 more than him. So he had an incredible year that year. So, and I looked up to Joey on the field as well. So, and then, they were all special. But, that 4th one, I was quite emotional getting that one. Just the fact that, Joey was the only one that had won 3, because I held him in such high regard that, to get the 4th one, the only player to have 4, just overcome with emotion. And, I was really lucky to play, with my teammates there at the Cowboys. They're a big part of that as well. So we had a pretty good couple of years there with those last 2 that I'd won.
Yep. And so was there ever a period, speaking of the Cowboys boys, was there ever a period where, I know I've seen some stories about it, but I'd love to hear, where you considered going somewhere else from the Cowboys? Because was there a year or 2 where it just didn't, there was a lot going on and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so 2013, I was off contract, and the closest that I'd ever thought about leaving was to go to Penrith with Gus.
Gus?
Yeah. Yep. I had a meeting with Gus, and then, part of the package would have been, with Channel 9, and then, some other corporates as well, living in Sydney. So being the face of their Indigenous programs and all that. So all that stuff, which I'm passionate about. I remember telling my manager before he dropped me off at the Sydney airport, I can do 4 years down here.
Yeah.
Let's do the deal down here, and
Wow.
that'll be it. And then I got back to Townsville, and having the conversation with my wife. I've agreed to go to Penrith.
We're going to Sydney.
Yeah. And she's like, well, you're going on your fucking own. Oh, God, no. So I pleaded with her to just give me 4 years in Sydney, and, we pretty much can live anywhere in Australia after that. So, a great mate of mine come around as well and had a conversation with him, and then I think it might have been the next day I rang my manager and said, have you told Gus yet? And he goes, yeah, they're pumped to do the press release, and I'm just shitting bricks going, oh. He's like, why? And I'm like, I can't go. The wife's telling me I'm down by myself. And he was like, no, I haven't told him yet. I knew you hadn't spoken to you. So he was good like that.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, well, I got to ring Gus and let him know I'm not coming. So I reckon it took me about 45 minutes, an hour to tell him that I couldn't come to Penrith, but I ended up, calling him and eventually blurted it out to him. I had to turn him down.
Mate, happy wife, happy life, bro. Happy wife, happy life. So leading us into 2015, it's just, even as a Broncos, fan myself, it's still just such an incredible grand final. All Queens, everything was set up for this moment. That year, leading into that, was it now? Did it feel like now or never? Like, because you had the squad, it was all coming together, or did you feel,
Yeah, so 2014, got bundled out by the Roosters, I think, and then
that wasn't the 7 tackle, was it? Which one was the 7 tackle?
That was
the year
the
before.
Manly one. Yeah,
come on,
before.
7 tackles.
Actually, that was the Sharkies, and then there was Kieran Foran's hand of God, I think it was the knock on. But and then we got bundled out by the Roosters, so we were fairly confident with the 2015 season, and then I think our first 3 games we lost, and I think our third game we lost to the Broncos. I think you put 40 odd on us, I think. So we started 0-3.
Oh, no.
And I think my second daughter was born during that period. So I remember telling the boys, let's go and wet the head and celebrate something because we haven't got anything going on at the moment. And we did that. And then, we're playing Melbourne at home, who we'd never had much success against. And, we were down by 7 with, 5 to go. We scored in the corner. I kicked the goal from the sideline. We're down by 1. And then, I kick a field goal. Then it goes into extra time. We have a couple of slots each, and then end up kicking it. And I think we won our next 11 after that. So that really set the tone for us. And we won a lot of close games that year by less than 4 points, a couple of golden point games as well. So it didn't matter what the scoreboard was saying. We always had that belief that, we could score tries and score them from anywhere. So, heading into the grand final, we're quietly confident, but you got to make it count when it happens. And there was only 2 or 3 of us that had played in a grand final before. The rest were never done it. So I'm trying to keep the boys calm. And there's so much going on off the field. Outside, you got to organise tickets and accommodation for family and all this type of stuff. So you got a lot of distractions, but you got to make sure that the players concentrate when it's time to concentrate. And it was it was no doubt my greatest memory on the rugby league field, helping win that premiership for the Cowboys.
Do you think, because the interesting thing about that game is, like, from watching anyway, obviously you'd felt better, but it did feel like for most of the game Broncos had the momentum. Do you think that, like, your career of learning, like obviously Lockie saying there's still 15 minutes to win this game, stay in this game, do you think that really helped you? Because, like, the last 15 minutes for you guys, like that's what won it. Like really won it for you.
Yeah. So I remember coming off at half time and sat in my seat, and Greenie come over to me and just gave me an absolute spray.
A Greenie spray.
Yeah. Get your head in the game. It's not what you're about. And then I think it might have been like maybe 5 minutes into the second half. I've gone for a fifth tackle long kick and end up kicking it into the blocker that was in front of us. So it was a penalty. So I'm going back to my edge, and Gavin Cooper just said, give me a bit of a spray, and said, we need you here, like we need you. So I just snapped out of it, and we were behind by most of the game. And the thing that I love about how it sort of all came about is the Cowboys were brought in the competition so that, you know, local talent could stay in North Queensland and still play in the NRL. Michael Morgan throws the flick pass. He played footy at Townsville Brothers. He's most of his life. And then Kyle Felt, who scored the try, another Townsville local junior. So that's what the Cowboys were brought in. It's just fitting that those two boys played such a significant part in the Cowboys winning their first ever premiership. So that's what I love about it.
Mate, it's just incredible. Like when the ball, did it hit the deck and you scooped it up and then you fended off Sammy?
Yeah.
And then you bounced around?
So, got the ball. I think it was Adam Blair that come flying out of the line. I evaded him and started running back, and I remember looking over and seeing Morgo over there with a lot of space, so I just threw it to him. I think Corey Parker tackled me, and we're both just standing there watching it all unfold. No way. And Felty puts the ball down in the corner, and I'm just going, this is my moment. Like I've dreamt of this my whole life. There's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be, and I could just remember the lactic acid in my legs just built up. So I was just trying to get that out of my legs. That's why it took so long, because I reckon if I had taken it straight away, I wouldn't have made the kick towards wouldn't even got to the upright. So, I remember grabbing the ball, and I think I was getting towards my setup, and Alfie Langer runs past and goes, I'll give you 500 if you missed. I was like, it made me even calmer. But so with my goal kicking, the closer I am to the sideline, the further I take it back. And this night we had a fair breeze behind my back, so that's going to hold my hook up. So I only took it back about 21 metres when I'm in that position. I normally take it back about 23, and that allows my hook to come around. So he gave me the spot, and I took a half a metre in and put the ball down, and put the and then he come and tapped me on the shoulder and said, the ball, I'm putting it here. So I was like, okay. And then not thinking, I've just put the ball the tee straight across. If I had taken it back another half a metre. So I've just put the ball straight across. I've gone through my routine. I wanted to come over the top of that ball, kick it, drill it low and hard at the right upright. I was aiming just a half a metre outside the right upright. I stand over the top of the ball, take a couple of deep breaths. I wiggle my toes because I like to get a feeling of where I kick it in on my foot. I take my 5 steps back, do the same, take my 3 to the left and half a step back. And when I take that half a step back, I visualise my walk-in, visualise kicking the ball and visualise it going through the sticks, and then visualise it back on the tee. And once I've done that, take a couple of deep breaths and then count my steps in. And as a goal kicker, you just know it's going to go through the sticks. And it felt pure. It felt flush. And, as soon as it come off the boot, I could have just, put my house on it. And I remember raising my hand, and it's coming around and hit the upright and just crushed me, crushed my dreams. Like it was, they're the moments I live for. I'd put myself in that scenario. I had boys, practicing, like spraying me with water, booing me, trying to put me off. Things like that, giving me all these different scenarios. So that was, my one time, and I blew it.
Oh, man.
The Kings.
Wow. And so, again, it's so interesting that, you know, in that first grand final, you know, you were into the touchy, like, this didn't go right. And this is a perfect moment where you need to just go, block it out.
Yeah.
We can still win this.
Yeah, yep. So, again, so I remember the boys just all jumping on me and going, we'll get it in extra time. And I was just snapped out of it. I was like, all right, next job is coin toss. In extra time, it's 5 minutes each way. So if you receive the ball, if you get a good attacking set, by the third set, you could be in good field position to have a crack at a field goal. So I always used to like receiving. But for some reason, I think it was Greeny or Fernsey said that we're going to kick off.
Wow.
So, and I don't know why I didn't overrule them.
Wow.
But we decided to kick off, and I took my mark on the sideline where I always hide when we kick off so no one runs at me. And, I remember when Felty kicked the ball, I was scooting down there and just waiting for the ball to come down, and it was just couldn't see it. And then, Benny Hunt dropped it, and I've just given myself a fist pump and was like, all right, let's do this. And I wanted to have a crack straight off the scrum in perfect position. We had the scrums on the 10-metre line, defensive lines on the try line. I'm on the 20, so the only pressure I'm going to get is from Darius, because Darius always packs a lock. On,
comes off with the one.
That's right. So on the scrum, and I put two blockers in front of me and told them, block Darius. I'm going to have a crack straight away. Yeah. And I remember when I got the ball, Darius just ran straight past. The boys just watched him run straight past like that. So I ended up taking the tackle, and next tackle, Jace gets tackled next to the try line, and we're too close. So I think I hit Cootie. We end up on the sideline, then I'm panicking because we're in the worst position ever. And Jimmy Tamo gets a real quick play of the ball, and then I just remember I dropped the ball and come off the boot, and I looked up and it just sailed through the sticks, and I ran and jumped on Cootie and all the boys. It was my greatest memory on a rugby league field.
Mate,
it was so good.
It just I can still envision it. It was absolutely incredible. What was I guess because you clearly embrace these big moments, you love them. But the whole set, even as soon as Benny Hunt drops that ball, I'm sure in your head going, I have to hit this field goal.
I don't miss twice.
Yeah. 100%.
I just remember like I said, giving myself a fist pump and going, all right, let's take it straight off I'm not going to get any pressure, and didn't get it off the scrum, but we got ourselves in a good field position, and Jimmy Tamo got a really quick play of the ball for us, and when it come off the boot, it just sailed through, and I remember the boys all over the top of me, and I remember Gavin Cooper grabbing me going, we did it, like that, and he's head butting me. He split me across the eyebrow, so I think I had 6 stitches across my eyebrow from him head butting me. And it was. I loved playing for the Cowboys. North Queensland endures a lot of natural disasters. I've been there, when cyclones have hit, droughts have hit. So they're resilient people, and when the Cowboys play, no matter what they're going through in their life. That 80 minutes, it's like their worries can just go away, and they can just, live for that 80 minutes. So that was never lost on me. To win that first premiership for the people of the North that have endured so much, in North Queensland with those natural disasters. It was such a good feeling getting back to Townsville and taking the trophy all through North Queensland out to Mount Isa. It was one heck of a time.
Oh, yeah. It's just you're a young kid in Brisbane, no club when you're 18 years old, and then you get to have a moment that It's just incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah. You know, and everyone plays their role in it as well. So, yeah, it was a good team, good coaching staff, and just no one can take that away from you when you're part of the first ever premiership team.
Have you heard the call back with Rabs?
Mate,
it's one of the greatest calls in rugby league history. So like it takes a step into folklore, into immortality, mate.
Yeah.
And like Rabsy's, oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, I know. And then, I remember Channel 9 did the thing for Rabs, and I remember them saying that was his, out of all the moments
so
that
good.
He's had,
Yeah.
and he's done horse racing, Olympics.
Yeah.
He's done everything.
Yeah.
He said that moment was his most favourite, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit emotional talking about it because he's a legend.
He's a legend.
So I'm very, very, taken aback by it.
Oh, incredible. And the thing, that I always say to people that maybe aren't from Queensland or whatever, even as Broncos fans, we're devastated. We're still happy that it was another Queensland club. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're happy for North Queensland.
I think everyone was like that.
You know what I'm saying? Gold Coast, the same thing. Whereas I feel like in New South Wales, it's a little bit different where, like, Penrith aren't going to be happy for Dragons getting the win in a grand final, whereas a lot of Queenslanders are like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
They're a Queensland side. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, so then the following few years for you, when did you start? Because you retired 18?
18.
Yep. When did that first decision kind of begin, do you think?
Yes, I signed a 4-year deal ending in 17. And then Greeny had conversations with Greeny and Pari about going again in 18. And so that was pretty early on in 17, I think. And then I think the test, I hurt my shoulder, Anzac test, come back, play a game for the Cowboys, then play the second State of Origin, and then, blow my shoulder out in that game. I'm kind of glad that I had that extra year with the boys because you're a long time retired. And, that's probably what apart from those moments, you miss the dressing room with the boys because you're in there each and every day and the banter.
There's nothing like it.
I know.
So good.
Yeah, that's what you miss. But, 2018 retired, still enjoyed those last few years.
Actually, I forgot to ask you, the Clive Churchill, like winning that.
Yep.
What's the feeling like?
So to be honest, I didn't think I deserved it.
Okay.
On there, and I remember going up on stage and getting it, and I come back down, and Greeny was waiting with me, and Matty Scott was there, and Greeny was like, "Give me a look," and I was like, "Oh, I don't deserve this." And he sprayed me.
Oh, really?
He said, there's no one, that deserves it more like you. Don't you ever think it like that again. Like that. So I wore it with pride after that. But it's a huge honour to win the Clive Churchill medal. So I did have those feelings that I probably wasn't the best player on the ground that night, but the judges thought so.
Hey, mate, you had the biggest plays. You had the biggest plays, man. The biggest plays. Okay, so what was it like? You were injured 2017.
Yep.
And the run that Michael Morgan went on, to this day, is honestly some of the best half footy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
What was that like riding the boys from, obviously super competitive, you want to be on there, but riding the boys from the sideline?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that side of it. So my mindset changed from, disappointment, devastation to how do I help, this team? How do I help the coaches and the boys? So, I was doing video work with Greeny and the coaching staff, helping, the team out where I could. So, I remember I think it was round 26, and we had to wait for a result. So
the boys had their jeans packed.
So we're all waiting to celebrate or go on Mad Monday, or we're going back to work on Monday. So the result fell our way, and come into training, and the boys just had a spring in their step, and worked really closely with Morgo, and he was phenomenal through that period. Really calm and collected, and just understood his role, understood what the team needed in specific times. He was playing, beyond his years with the composure and the maturity that he had. It was really good riding the boys and playing a role in a different capacity than what you do when you're playing with them. So, extremely proud of what they achieved for that run. Again, even though we got smashed in the GF by the Storm. Really proud of the boys.
Was that the first time? Because you're obviously part of the Queensland coaching staff this last year.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you got a bit of a taste for that kind of role?
Yeah. So I would sit in and do video work and be looking at the watch.
Oh man,
the amount of work that coaching staff put in, I just didn't. That was the first time I really actually seen it hands-on. So I had a real appreciation of the work that they do for us as players, cutting all the vision, so coming up with the game plan and things like that. So, that was my first part of doing that, and I really enjoyed that part of it as well. And very lucky. Greenie asked me to help as an assistant when he got the Origin job. Kevy helped me come on as a mentor as well when he had the Maroons when I finished in 2018. So, I've enjoyed it. And, Billy's got me to a specific role. So, he's asked me to stay on again this year. But that was the first time in 2017 that I really had that eye-opener of the amount of hours that they spend on it.
Seriously. So. I don't know how they do it. Because you've got to watch every game. And then cut it all up. And, mate.
Every tackle, every pass.
Seriously. Speaking of Greenie, what's, obviously rest in peace. I was under him when he was at Wynnum.
Yep.
When he first started his head coaching kind of role. What's just a fond memory you have of the great Greenie?
Lots. He was the life of the party. He loved having a good time, loved bringing people together, and I had some really tough conversations with him as well, but we'd have those conversations and then, we could move on. I still remember the first time whilst I'd met him, but when he'd been named the coach of the Cowboys, we were at the Dally M's, so we caught up for a beer before we went to the Dally M's, and he just hit me between the eyes of it, from an outsider looking in, and how do you think the Cowboys are perceived? And I was like, don't really care how we're perceived. I don't care about what's inside those four walls. And he was like, well, you can't win away from home and can't win without you. And I was like, okay. And so he goes, well, so we need to take our training to another level so that when we play away from home, we can win. And if you're injured, the boys can win without you. Yeah. So I was like, I'm in. Yeah. Let's do this. And I had a really good relationship with Greenie on and off the field, and he was certainly like a mentor of mine as well. I could ring him, post footy, have good chats with him, see if I needed any advice, I could go to him like that. So he had a real big impact on me.
And the decision to retire, when did you know for sure? When did you go, this is it?
Yeah, it's probably the one regret that I have is publicly saying it. I think it put a lot of pressure on the players within the club. Okay. Because it was towards the back end, it was more about myself than the actual game and what we were doing and what we were trying to achieve. So if I could take that back, I certainly would have and just kept it on ice and just, played it with a straight bat. But, I come out and said, this will be my final year. And, I was, mentally and emotionally and physically done. So, I was blessed to have so many great memories and lucky that, I could make that decision on my own terms. A lot of players don't get that, make that decision. But I was done at the end of that season. But still got a lot of great memories playing alongside those boys.
And this is just a personal question, bro, but how much strapping tape did you use throughout your career? Holy heckers, bro. You're hanging by a thread at the end. Yeah. How did you catch balls with the shoulder brace?
So
when I got the shoulder Rico and I had to wear the brace, I couldn't catch a cold.
The first time I got my shoulders done, I got my left one done, and then 6 weeks later I got my right one done. So I had to get, and then, in 2017 got me right one done again. And I don't know how I did it in 2007, getting two done 6 weeks apart because it was the most pain I'd ever been in. But you just get used to the shoulder braces that you wear. But the strapping tape was a little bit.
Did you ever roll out the? Oh, my shoulder brace stopped me from catching the ball. Did you ever use just once? I couldn't get my arm back up there.
I got some dodgy service sometimes from Gavin Cooper.
And post-career, like obviously, part of the coaching staff now and been for a few years in Queensland. Is that something that you're interested in, do you think?
Yes, I'm enjoying my role that Billy's got me at the moment. And, I did some work with the Cowboys not the preseason, just gone the preseason before. So I really enjoyed that as well. I don't think I've just got too much on my plate to get back into the system of an NRL club because I know what once you're in there,
and these days too,
devote everything to it. So maybe when the kids are a little bit older, but at this stage, I've got no desire to be a full-time in that full-time role. And like I said, I'm enjoying what I've got now with Billy and helping the Cowboys out when I can.
And for younger fellas and girls coming through, like obviously you conquered the fact that a lot of scouts and whatever said, he's not big enough, all that carry on. What did you used to tell yourself to keep the confidence up that you could probably tell a young kid, mate, don't listen to this or do listen to this or this is how you can get past these kind of tough parts? Yeah,
so like I said earlier, the belief in myself never wavered. And I'm a big Tom Brady fan, so I used to watch a lot of clips on Tom Brady. And one of the things that he said early on in his career was, if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else believe in you? And that really resonated with me. And, that's what always drove me. And yes, like I said, I had a chip on my shoulder when I'd come up against different players because of, they were wearing the Broncos tracksuit or, they were, it was either him or me. Just keep working on your skill set and, just believe in yourself. You're going to get knocked down. Life's full of that. But, keep getting back up and keep, pressing forward and keep believing in yourself. It doesn't matter if it's rugby league or, if you want to be a nurse or a lawyer or a doctor or a surgeon or, police officer, whatever it is maybe that you're choosing in your life, you're going to have setbacks, but that's just part of life. What doesn't break you just makes you stronger.
Absolutely. Now ask all the boys this. Actually, before we get to that, your combination with Mango, like Matty Bowen, like was it something that you rocked up day one and you did your first skill session and you just knew, or was it something you built on?
So we worked on it, but we had a really good relationship off the field as well, which helped. So we just had like this sixth sense around each other, and I I could see things sort of happening before it happens, depending on the defensive line. And, you just had to give him the ball and a little bit of space and he could do the rest. So, we did work hard on our combination, and Aaron Payne was a big part of that as well. So you're getting the service of Payne in those early years, and before I arrived, Payne and Mango had that combination already. So I felt like I just added to that, and but Mango was part of the reason why I moved to the Cowboys, because
so good.
Man, he could just score something out of nothing.
Mate,
There's not too many people are like that.
He is one of my favourite fullbacks ever to watch.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like,
Without a doubt.
you'd say like Darren Lockyer or Billy Slater, maybe they're the GOATs.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like watching someone and just going, what's doing? It's Matty Bowen, bro. It's Matty Bowen.
I know. He does
So
things
good.
that no one else can do.
Ask all the boys his favourite rapper of all time.
Favourite rapper?
Yeah, bro. Come on, bro. Oh, you're a countryman. You're a countryman.
Favourite rapper? I don't know, probably Tupac.
Okay. My first CD ever was Tupac, so I'm with you. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. Favourite movie of all time?
Shawshank Redemption.
Mate, we get that all the time.
Really?
It's a GOAT movie, though. Yeah, it's gun. It's gun.
It's my favourite.
Mate, thank you so much for sitting down with us, bro. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well,